Yeah, it was a good time, honey, under the sky. Yeah, it was a good time, honey, just you and I. Feeling alright.
Hey, welcome to All Wheels Podcast. This is episode 4, and this is Evan, and I'm joined by Brady and Max, as always. What's up, guys?
As always.
How you guys doing? Welcome back.
All right, so we're getting some momentum going and getting some episodes cranked out, so hopefully these are going good. Of course, these aren't live yet, and you'll listen to them later, so it probably doesn't matter how fast we're doing them, but it feels good.
It's been a year already, guys.
I hope not for fucking 4 episodes. But yeah, we're making progress. We did our last episode a couple days ago. We usually start with our What's in the Shop segment, but I don't know if anybody has any updates on interesting things they've been working on the last 3 days or 4 days, but
I'm sorry.
I mean, I have.
Oh yeah, you're always doing
Brady
cool
has.
shit.
Brady's
So Brady's restoring a rare Corvette that.
No, I like Corvettes, but I don't know. I don't want to mess with fiberglass and.
I saw that you got the top working on the Lincoln. Good job.
Yeah,
that's rad.
Oh my goodness,
We
that
gotta get
thing
that.
was
Just-
beating me up.
Do we have the is the Instagram going?
Yeah, I think so.
It's going. We just haven't really populated with anything. I think I threw the logo up there.
Yeah. We got to
tell
get you to
people
post
about
all the stuff you're working on.
So can we?
Yeah.
Can multiple people log into the same account and post stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, then we should do that so we can all post some, junk. That would be rad.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that'll just give people when we're talking about your old wagon, that Toyota wagon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're putting a
Not
turbo
Toyota.
on, like that's gonna people are gonna love.
No,
to see
it's
that.
a Triumph. It's a Triumph estate wagon.
Yeah, that thing is cool. Yeah, there's all sorts of cool shit to put up pictures.
And
of.
I'm just collecting parts for it too. So hopefully, when these start dropping and start directing some attention to it, that it can be kind of some live updates too.
Oh, nice.
Likely before the podcast we talk about it comes out too. So I guess we'll be a little bit ahead of the stream.
Well,
yeah.
I managed to accomplish a few things in the last couple of days on my garage project I was talking about, I think. And I finally have it painted, and I have my floor put in, and I bought the biggest toolbox of my life today. So I'm pretty proud of that.
I just saw that in the.
I was telling
Discord.
Max I had to send him a picture. I bought a smaller one, but the dude at Home Depot gave me the floor model of their massive 52-inch Husky, like 18 drawer or something box. It's nuts. I don't even have enough tools to fill it up. So anyway,
that just means in a year you'll be looking for another toolbox because you had filled it.
Oh, I'm gonna.
If there's space, it will be filled.
But I ordered their cabinets, all this Husky stuff from Home Depot, and I got their workbenches and cabinets and all this shit that has to ship to me. But I'm pretty stoked. The garage is turning out good. It looks really sweet. So I can't wait. So yeah, I've made some progress. I'm happy about that. I need my garage back. I got a bunch of bikes and pieces at work that I need to get back to work on. So yeah. All right, what about you guys?
Nothing new for me. Zero. I'm working on my leg always.
Yeah, well, that's the most important project.
Exactly.
So yeah, nothing for me. So I'm going to live vicariously through you guys for a while until I get my 75.5 BMW.
Yeah,
that'll
sweet.
be a while.
So as mentioned, I got the top on the 63 Lincoln Continental convertible, fully operational.
So what was it? A bad relay, or what were we talking about? A bad relay or a switch?
So it turned out the relay was fine. It ended up being just a poor connection on one of the say the signal connection on the relay. It just wasn't getting diverted power because there was the fitting that's like buried in the like rubber fitting that you just slip right on. It's like fitted to that specific relay.
Yeah.
It was just, it got wet and just corroded. So put a new fitting on that.
How many connections did you take off before you found that?
Well, surprisingly, I didn't have to do too many because I had figured out which relay does which operation.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I could narrow it down to like a couple relays would cause that. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of it too was just learning how it operates and what kind of the theory of it all is. So that was kind of the major frustration and learning curve, really.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started getting more and more the hang of it, I kind of knew more where to look, so it became a little bit easier over time.
Right.
But in the end, it was that connection to the relay and a couple of the limit switches just were kind of out of calibration.
Got it.
So those ones were a little tricky, but
damn, that's cool. There's not a lot of
in the
people
end,
that can
it
say
worked.
they successfully troubleshot a Lincoln Continental convertible top system.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a badge that I wear proudly because I would have been fine not successfully doing one.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So if we come
so
out
I
there
wrapped
and do a podcast local, can we borrow that car from your boss and go and cruise it?
Oh yeah, it's probably good.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
feel like
Replay. Yeah, I was just gonna say,
What's up?
just some older, less appealing entourage.
Hey,
Yeah,
just speak
lot
for
more.
yourself, dude. I'm at least as
I am.
appealing as Johnny Drama.
As Turtle? Johnny Drama.
Remember that one episode they like got hammered and woke up in the Lincoln at the Grand Canyon or something? Remember that? That's I could see that happening.
That's fantastic, though.
Yeah, that sounds like an average weekend for me sometimes. But yeah, so I wrapped that up on last Friday, and then just kind of finalized some stuff. Monday, today is Wednesday, and then yesterday worked on the 51 Chevy Master Deluxe, all original. It was repainted at some point. That's the only thing that's not original. Probably in the 90s or so.
How many cars does this guy have in the collection?
I was just going to ask that.
Oh, I don't know.
Are they all?
I don't know. It's changing around a lot lately.
Well, like
He's selling,
20
getting some.
or
And,
200?
20? Yeah. What-
no, under 20.
Okay.
Under 20.
But enough work for you
I think
to always see
the most he had at one time is 13.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And they were all running for the most part, except the ones that I was building.
Dude, I just
never-
want a car collection with like a full-time mechanic fixing shit for me.
Well, you're
awesome.
gonna have to.
I'm gonna get there one day.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I don't want that.
I don't.
I definitely don't.
I mean,
Do you ever worry that you'll finish all these cars and be out of work?
oh yeah, that's a good point.
Not necessarily. I mean, I do some other stuff for some of his businesses too. So it's not that that's the only thing I'm good for.
Are you the muscle?
He does.
No,
Just
no,
don't worry
no,
about it.
no.
He does some
Oh,
other
sorry, I
stuff.
don't talk about that. Yeah.
He's the enforcer and the
He's the
mechanic.
It's like, shh.
Yeah, that's why I grew the mustache.
You see that mustache? I wouldn't fuck with this guy.
Yeah, it only works for older ladies and little kids. They get scared and run away.
Oh, I mean, it's what a mustache is good for, I guess.
I mean, I don't know if
Sorry,
it's
trying
good
to
for
do other
anything
things.
What
except
about?
I'm trying to live out some of my Tom Selleck dreams.
Yes.
Actually, you're kind of
while I
pulling
still can.
that off a little bit. Yeah, that's
your
I'm
wife like
hoping. I mean, I don't know if she likes it, but she doesn't.
she doesn't have a choice.
She doesn't really care too much.
Dude,
she's pretty neutral about it, but if she had to lean one way, it would be definitely she hates it.
Okay.
I remember
But,
growing a mustache like that once for Movember, like 15 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I looked like a straight up pedophile. Like I would be in a restaurant or something, and like people would pull their kids away from me. I looked so bad. And I've never grown a mustache again, ever. I don't think I will.
Well, if you want to, I think now's the time. I'm starting to see a lot more people kind of breaching out from it's a creepy mustache.
Yeah.
I think it's becoming a little bit more accepted now.
The millennial guys are all like, they're all trying to get the mustache back again, but
I don't know. I just figured I saw an opportunity, and whether I keep it for another hour or another year, I'm just going to see how long it goes.
No, it's a good looking mustache.
Pull it off.
I think yours looks good.
I just think I'm done experimenting with hair. I grew my hair out. That was the longest, down to my shoulders almost, and that was about it. I don't think I can handle. I'm done with my hair.
Then you just cut it. I can't believe it.
I was done, man.
Well, I have no hair.
No, I couldn't.
I have no hair on my head anymore, so this is my only outlet to experiment with now.
That's all right. Grow where you can.
When I was in college, I had my hair was like down to here, and you can see like the line, and this big old handlebar.
Oh, nice.
It was pretty legit. I look like
that's
I was
right.
70s.
Nice.
That's
pretty
huge
lamb chops.
Nice.
that was pretty fun.
Wait,
I looked like a 40-year-old man. And
what car?
Like
what car did you have at the time? Because I could see
I had my Volkswagen van, of course.
Oh, damn!
I know. I needed something really cool. But
Trans Am, dude. T-tops.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Call myself slick.
Yeah, slick. Oh man.
Well, fellas, what are we going to talk about today?
God, I wish we were talking about Camaros with T-tops because that's what I need right about now.
I know. I saw one today. It was $40,000. I almost sent it to you.
Really? I should have never
really
sold.
nice.
I should have never ever sold that 81 with T-tops, man. Do you remember how rad we were cruising that bad boy around? I mean, that was peak fucking radness right there. I don't think I'll ever be as cool as I was then.
Maybe you want to do blow on the hood, but
yeah. Well, no, the purple Camaro did that. Remember the purple?
Oh God,
the purple Dragon. God, I've had some shitty cars in the last couple of years.
Those are great.
All right. Well, anyways, we're not talking about shitty cars. We are talking about shitty motorcycles tonight.
We're talking about motorcycle maintenance today.
We're talking about making motorcycles less shitty. Okay, so
or at least fully functional.
Yeah, fully functional, not shitty.
And this is after you've gotten
maybe
a motorcycle.
not.
This is once you've recently purchased a bike,
right?
And now you're getting ready to maybe update. If you bought an older bike and you want to freshen things up and move forward on making the bike yours, and
right,
sometimes when you buy an older used vehicle, it's just good to kind of go from front to back to
just
when
a reset.
Done.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I usually do that on everything every bike I buy, but sometimes that leads towards pulling the engine and transmission.
Exactly, that's finding stuff that
it's dangerous.
Would be fine if you,
But let's assume you followed our advice and didn't do what we do, and you actually bought a good bike that didn't require, massive disassembly.
Exactly.
Sure,
and this list also, like, I didn't quite know how to structure it, so I just did like recently purchased motorcycle. Like when you first get a bike in your garage, like the first step, or not step, but first thing that would be wise to do, just so you have, like Max, like what you said, is just a reset pretty much, like when everything was done, so it can reset that timer on your service intervals for different systems,
right?
But if you have a bike already and have for years, but like want to even try to get back or get into, say, doing your own services, can be a little bit. We're not going to go in depth, at least, on how to do all of these things, but it could give you at least an idea of things that need to be serviced and at least checked, and just kind of get yourself more familiar with the bike you have or have had for a while.
Right, absolutely.
I mean, the first on the list absolutely is to get a manual for your bike. Not only I've never had a newer bike with I mean, I can only assume, like anything else newer, like they don't want you to work on it, so the manuals aren't as in depth or tell you exactly like all of the stuff in the manual how to do your services, because they want you to take it to the dealer for the most part.
Well, the owner's manuals progressively get worse and worse and worse, I found, as far as maintenance goes. But I've seen a ton of service manuals for pretty recent stuff, like on up to 2017, 2018 models, and they're I don't think they're lacking in maintenance information, but where where the problem with the newer manuals is so much new stuff is computer controlled and fuel injected, and that's where they're lacking a lot of info. But that's more on like the troubleshooting side, not really on the maintenance side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Okay,
so I think it still applies. I'll say one thing is it's so easy to find, especially for anything, let's say 10 years old and older. It's really easy to find PDF copies of service manuals online.
That's what I was going to say.
I have never once bought a manual for any bike.
I don't think I have.
And I've had,
I
mean, over 100 bikes, I could say easily without questioning.
No, it's super easy to find. Lately, so I use this for work all the time when I'm trying to track down like specs on a part or an ignition system or a stator output or something. And there's a website called manualslib.com, manuals library, and
I just used that 2 days ago.
It's awesome. And you can go there and search for whatever it is, model, year, and there's no standard format. So like you might need to get creative trying your searches. Like let's say you were looking for a YZ 450 dirt bike, you might need to try YZ space 450, or you might need to put YZ 450 together, whatever. You got to get creative, but if you do, spend some time searching, you can almost always find a manual for stuff on there, and a good PDF copy somebody uploaded, and I mean right there's no excuse not to find one and have all that info, ready to go.
Yeah, I usually just, I don't go directly to that site, but I do.
Comes up in search.
Usually just do a search. Yeah, I do a search for year or that generation of bikes. So let's say like 04 to 07 Harley Sportsters or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like being specific, like 06 like Sportster, like it's usually manuals are split into what that manual covers year wise, and then PDF right after that.
Yep.
And then sometimes if I'm not having a lot of good luck or they want me to buy it, I'll just hit free after, and then something usually comes up.
Yeah.
Well, and you can put into a Google search. You can use the whatever terms you want, bike model, make, whatever. You can do file type PDF, and that'll limit search results to actual PDF files, not just a page that had PDF images in the title or something.
Yeah.
So that helps. I saw lately, Max, I was going to tell you this, Lowbrow Customs added a ton of Harley manual PDFs to their website.
Oh,
recently.
that's nice.
Like they're free and they're really good copies of factory Harley manuals.
Oh, that's great.
That can be useful.
Yeah.
I was looking at
the only time I've
day.
ever had I had a 9 or 01 VFR, and I couldn't track one down, but I went to the VFR forum. I just posted on there, does anybody have and it was like 8 people shot me a link.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
Yeah.
So that's always another way to go. Another reason before is go to the forum and ask the question, and you'll get everybody there delivering.
Yeah, and also chances are that question's already been asked in those forums, because I find a lot of manuals I'm looking for in forums that someone has been asking and throws a link on in there.
Nice.
Now a lot of times, depending on how old it is, it's a dead link. But
it's from 15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That manual's long gone. But it's just they're not that hard to find. Facebook groups for a particular bike are really useful to ask, and if you search on join a group for whatever model that is and do a search for service manual, and a lot of times you'll find people have shared them in there too.
Yeah, and if you want, like, say, a book, a physical or an actual physical manual, there's still, depending on bike, of course, there are manuals you can actually buy the actual hard copy or even just print it out.
Yeah. Does Haynes do motorcycles or just autos?
No, they do.
I don't know. I've never really used any.
But they're pretty bad from what I've seen.
I've never used them.
I mean, the factory or manufacturer manuals, especially for older bikes, are always so good.
Yeah.
Like there's no need to. They'll tell you like point to point how to rebuild an entire bike.
Well, I remember I was at a trade show one time, and I met one of the reps for Haynes. They had a booth, at some motorcycle show, and I talked to him about it, and he basically said that it was motorcycle manuals were like an afterthought for them, and they were like, yeah, I mean, we kind of do them, but
just like testing the market for the most part.
Yeah. And I remember talking and saying, like, dude, I've seen tons of your manuals, mainly for old cars and stuff. So much of your stuff is like wrong. And they were just kind of like, yeah, I mean, you know, what do you do? I'm like, okay. Nice guy. I don't remember his name, but I wasn't real impressed with their manuals.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, OEM's the way to go. And you can still buy them. Like Yamaha's got a Yamaha, if you Google Yamaha publications or something, they have a website where you can order any of their published materials like directly from them, and it's generally not that expensive, $20-$30. I've bought a few
that's cool.
for work before, yeah. But eBay, you can find used paper manuals on eBay for $5 sometimes. You know, it's not hard to track.
Or 150, like 63 Lincoln Continental.
Yeah,
convertible.
I'm sure that costs.
Yeah.
But if you need a Honda Nighthawk manual, it's generally not too expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, but a lot of times, I mean, like you can probably just find it pay for shipping.
yeah. But it's so, I mean, you can find most of the stuff you're wondering for regular maintenance, like Google the bike and oil capacity, or, you know, fork oil capacity, or valve clearance, or whatever. Like, you can almost always find that stuff online without even digging through a manual if you want to.
Yeah, I always feel like it's really good, like when I have a new bike that I've not used and I want to like rebuild the forks. Then it's like when you get into things past oil changes or how to tighten the chain, but you actually get into something.
Yeah,
is when I feel like that was weird. I always feel like the my confidence goes up knowing I can go back to the manual and be like, oh shit,
yeah,
how did this, you know, where did this go, you know, what order?
Yeah.
That's when they're nice to have.
Yeah, especially if you're dealing with what is it, inverted forks or something like that. They're definitely a little bit more involved in your conventional
or BMW /5 forks that have to go back together in a particular order. A service manual would have been really useful.
Which is funny because I have like 4 of them. I probably should have brought one over for you.
Well, you gave me that, and I have a copy too. That black Haynes or Chilton's or something. You know, that thick, like the BMW one that's like 2 inches thick.
Yeah,
I have a copy of that, and I realized I didn't even look at it to see if your fork diagram was in it.
Sweet, thanks.
Yeah. So
all right. Well, I think we covered every possible question on how to get a manual.
That's right.
But you also have to use it. I think that's key. Just having one sitting in a box like I did doesn't help if you don't look at it.
Yeah. That's why the PDF is nice. I just save it into my books.
Yep. Well, and I always have a garage computer, so a PDF copy is easier anyways because I just pull it up on my TV or whatever in the garage, and it's so much easier than having a book laying around.
Yeah. Unless you want to like highlight stuff, and well, you can do that also.
It's but you can print out individual pages or whatever, you know. I don't know.
Wiring diagrams, that's pretty much the main thing I use in manuals now. And a lot of times I'll just look up the wiring diagram. Usually there's one for everything out there, really easy to find. But don't get confused because a lot of wiring diagrams will just pop up like on an image search or something like that. Yeah. And it's a completely different bike. So I can just make sure and verify that you're getting what you're out looking for. Yeah.
That's
all right. So one of the main things that you want to look for in a service manual is usually I'm certain all of them will give you mileage or kilometers on when your service intervals are. So say when to change your oil, maybe not that, but I mean, why wouldn't it? But say if your valves need to be adjusted, when you need to do that, timing chain adjustment,
clutch fluid,
a lot of other, exactly, brake fluid, all your other fluids. It's got, also. So that's kind of why doing all of those things, if at the very least checking them, you can kind of reset that timer. And then you have a running clock on when you're supposed to be doing them, and not having to question when it was actually done, or believe that it actually was done, even if it said it was just recently done. So even if it's just like, I mean, I never really ran speedometers on my bikes, so I just kind of like oil changes. I would do like every other month. And then I would do spark plugs at the same time, just because they're cheap. And then every other change, I would at least take a look at the valves and see if they need to be adjusted, timing chain, stuff like that.
So I have a question. You were running bikes like CBs, right? Which had actually, I don't know, on the old single cam CBs, how were the valves adjusted? Were they shims?
So it was nut and tap it.
Oh, okay. So they're reasonable to adjust. Okay, my question is tailored towards, what if you have a bike with shim and bucket system where you have to pull the cams and the cam chain and all that shit? It's a total nightmare to do the valves on it. What do you think in that case?
Not all the time. I mean, if it's like shim under bucket, yeah, those are a pain in the ass.
That's what I mean. Where you have to literally pull the cam out to change.
But shim over bucket is pretty... It's less of a pain in the ass. I'm sorry, more than a pain in the ass than the nut and tap it.
Yeah, but you can change those without pulling the cam out, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Likely there's a tool specific for it that you just kind of compress the bucket and then use a magnet or something to pull the shim off the cap or off the top. And then
I asked that because I'm thinking, like, my bike recommendations before were like cheap Japanese 4-cylinders from the 80s, and a vast majority of those were shim under bucket style with a lot of valve adjustment work. Yeah, Nighthawk,
Yamahas, I think.
Maxims, you name it, they were all like that. Suzuki GS's.
Well, I know 84 to maybe 86, they were still nut and tap it.
On what?
At least on the first generation Gixxers 750s.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, the actual model doesn't matter. I'm just my question is: say it's a ton of work on valve adjustment. Do you still do it if there's no indication of valve problem? Because I wouldn't. It's just too much work.
I mean, I would check it. Yeah, I mean, at least check it.
Oh, okay. I would check it. Sure.
Yeah. And a lot of times that's the reason they kind of switch to shim type to set your valve lash, is because it does last a lot longer.
Well, that's also why you buy one of those bikes cheap and the valves are totally tight as shit, because they last so long that nobody ever adjusted them.
No one ever even... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's not uncommon at all.
Like, my bike won't run. Here's $200.
Well, so you know how... So Ryan, my guy at work, has this old FZR that's been through a couple friends, and he owns it now. and it's a pretty haggard old bike, but he finally... It got to the point where it just wouldn't start. I mean, it was so difficult to start. So we finally checked the valves on it, and... I forget, but the vast majority of valve clearance was so tight there literally was no clearance, and the valves actually weren't closing all the way. So but that bike still ran up to that point, and actually it still ran when we took it apart. It was just very difficult to start. So my point is, you can push those things like way past any point of being reasonable, and they will still technically run.
We had a girlfriend of ours who had an old Honda Metropolitan scooter. And she could not get it to fire, and my friends were like, "Oh, it needs this, it needs this, it needs this," and we finally pulled the valves, and it was just stuck shut. It was not getting any gas. Like, the valve would not open. It was just over time, and it just So we just did a valve adjustment, and it fired right up and ran like a top.
The cam couldn't push it open.
I guess not. It was like it had like reseated
from sitting.
Well, no, she ran. It had a lot of miles.
Oh.
I just think she never did any maintenance, and eventually over time
Well, it probably so it loosened the adjustment. The lash grew so much that the rocker wasn't even pushing down on the.
You could not get. It was just like
That would mean the valve stem was moving away from the cam. That doesn't really happen. They beat into the head, so the clearance goes away to the point where the valve doesn't actually close.
Well, unless because some engines typically will either tighten with as overtime goes or loosen. So grow or shrink the valve lash. So if it grew so much where it was maybe
it was just
so tight.
It was so tight. And so I remember we just we had another friend that came in and was like, "Did you guys check this?" And he did it, and it was like fucking thing fired right up and ran great.
Well, it gets overlooked on everything because nobody wants to do it.
Yeah,
and nobody wants to like take the time to understand how it works or anything. So
we'll definitely do how valve trains work. Podcast or just how a motor works, and we'll cover all that. I don't think we can spend too much time on just valves, but
no, I was just
actually what are you talking about? We've only talked about service intervals and manuals, and it's been a half hour. we could keep this going forever.
It's just the biggest. I bring it up because it's the biggest maintenance thing that's potentially the biggest pain in the ass.
That goes overlooked. Definitely, probably more than. And honestly, most of my personal bikes, fortunately, I don't keep them for very long. So I'll just, a lot of the times, I just won't do it until I'm selling it.
Yeah.
And then I fix everything, adjust everything, and then it's geez, man,
I should have done that all when I
fucking run. I should have done that when I was actually using it.
Yep.
Well, when I bought my 1150 GS, I bought it. It's probably maybe the second bike in my whole life I've ever bought from a dealership. It was used. But, it had 28,000 miles. But the 30,000 service was due up. So when I was there, they were telling me, they're like, this thing is due for the 30,000 mile service. Now, granted, I was at Foothills BMW, which is expensive,
Yeah.
But their quote for the 30K service was something like $1,600.
Whoa.
And all it consists of was
valve adjustment and
inspect the valves, flush the clutch,
fluids,
all the fluids, check and inspect and replace the alternator belt if it was bad.
Yeah.
And then
which is not going to be at 30,000 miles.
It was just if you would have done all those things and bought the parts and had a manual yourself. It was like $30 in parts.
Well, I did that same service on mine when it hit. My 1150 hit. I owned it when it hit 50,000 miles, I think, or 55 or something. And I did that a whole service you're talking about, and from maybe $100 in parts from Euromoto, and I don't even know 2-3 hours or something. It was.
And you even got all the way back to the slave cylinder on that clutch.
Well, I had to because mine was leaking. I remember mine was mine actually had a leak at the slave cylinder.
Yeah,
and that was a little bit of a pain in the ass to change, but it wasn't even horrible. It was okay.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, that's a great example. Yeah, you do it yourself and save.
Sometimes people get scared of this stuff, but it's all doable, and especially if you have a manual.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, they'll list exactly how to do it, and which order to if you have to remove parts, which order to do it to, and then also how it goes back together appropriately too.
Right. Well, especially if it's a popular bike, you'll find, discussions about what to do and the best way to do it and stuff. It's
so service intervals. So that's just it's a good indicator when you should start looking at stuff, and also if you haven't done it before, when just to know those things even need to be serviced, because a lot of times, I mean, if you don't really know these things, you just go I have to go into the dealer, they do this service A, service B, not knowing exactly what they're doing. But if you do it yourself, you'll know what to expect, what those services are, and then Max, like your story, how much of a ripoff it is when it's something you can have fun in a day, weekend, whatever, having some beers or iced tea, whatever, and
James,
Yeah, and
C1,
learn something, and if anything, like grow confidence in and moving on to something even bigger. Like, say if you want to start customizing it or adding performance to it, that's a good step into doing that yourself, and not only saving money but just growing your passion for it more, learning more. And then your friends will think you're cool.
That's right.
Well, and it's only taking shit apart's only hard the first time. Then once you get used to it and realize you can put it back together, it's not that bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The service intervals. Another thing you'll find in your nice handy manual is how to do a tune-up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they probably won't word it as tune-up. I think that's kind of just
but there's a regular
mechanic slang, really. Like
there's a regular maintenance or something section in most start of most manuals that cover all that kind of stuff. But I do
tune-up.
The older manuals are better. You know, bikes like from the 70s have pretty thorough. Regular maintenance or whatever sections that are like really, really well done. Usually, that show you. I mean, everything from like setting float level and carburetors and, you know, gapping your spark plugs and stuff. And like most new manuals, I think, don't go into much detail about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, even like over specific too, like for when you just mentioned like saying your float level, like every manual, usually they're way over specific with it. And like every time I've adjusted a float level, if you do it like say by the book, and a lot of them are different, even like the slant carbs that kind of sit different or at an angle, so the float bowl is like level. Every time, say if I did it by the book, they said like from the surface of the mating surface of the float bowl, like 22 millimeters or whatever it is. But if you do that adjustment and then take a look at it, if you say put it upside down, the float is always parallel to the float mating surface on the carb. So that's all you're doing is just set that just parallel to that mating surface, and I've never had an issue. And it's likely what they're trying to get you to anyway.
I've had bikes that'll always get it to run, but I've had bikes that needed fine tuning to try and solve a like flat spot or something under heavy throttle because they were running out of fuel.
Yeah, that's usually when you'll find it is when you're on heavy throttle, then your bike's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like, oops.
Yeah, and that's I should say that this isn't every single carb because I haven't played with every single carb.
It's a good starting point. You always need a starting point somehow, you know, on any.
Well, that's generally I would say 99% of carbs that I've touched, that's what the book's trying to get you at is that float parallel to the mating surface, and then I mean you don't necessarily need to measure that. You can okay I see what you mean. Like I eyeballed it. I've got some pretty good eyeballs, so
well I agree it'll generally solve most problems if it was if it didn't meet that spec or whatever, then for sure you had a bigger problem. So that'll get you.
Don't listen to me. Do it the right way. I will always I will always recommend doing it the right way and not a shortcut like I was just talking about.
No, but I agree. Once you've done it a couple times, you start being like, oh yeah, I see what's in common between these. Usually you can do this and it'll work. And
that's at least what the goal is that they're trying to get covered. But yeah, tune-up, from my understanding, I've always just grown up with tune-up being plugs, plug wires, and
like points, condenser,
ignition. Yeah, exactly. Like ignition, check or readjust, and maybe a fresh fuel filter, and then air cleaner, air filter. So
you know what's great? You know what's one of my favorite things on an old bike? Which again, I'm probably more like Evan. I like to buy old ratty shit and make it better. But when you just replace all the cables, the bike feels
worth it.
It feels like it's a 2021. And you're like, oh my god, the clutch is so great, and the throttle is so smooth.
Yeah,
and it's, you know, to get all of your cables is like $60.
Yeah,
it's incredible. It's like the most rewarding. That's not really in the tune-up part of it, but it certainly is like
Yeah.
the win. If you pick up an old 75, CB750 that's been outside.
I remember putting cables on my 1150 GS, which was an 02, and it had 45,000 miles or something when I bought it. I put new cables on that, and I thought it was fine before, but I was just doing all the other service and thought, what the hell, it was only $50 in cables. And I changed them all and was like, holy shit. It went from like totally fine to like butter.
I know.
And then it was like,
that
oh
R75
yeah, okay.
that you just helped me with was the same way. I was like,
Those weren't
the
e-
clutch.
those
is
weren't
so
even
good.
cables.
The brake cable, everything was like, wow.
Those weren't even cables. That
Well-
thing was, those were pretty bad.
I do know that a lot of older, say, Japanese bikes, could be other regions too, but a lot of the times the coils, the wires can't be just replaced. They don't have a cap onto the coil. They're actually inside of
Inside
the coil.
Yeah.
Now, if you get like an aftermarket ignition coil, all of them I've seen for the most part, they do have like that screw in type where you just shove the wire in, screw it in, it pinches it close to it. But original, a lot of older original coils don't have
they
that luxury of
epoxied the
replacing
wire
them.
into it.
Yeah.
Well,
now you can sometimes get away with just clipping the ends on the spark plug boot side and then trying to, like, if you're not getting a solid connection there. And sometimes that works.
Those
but
boots can be bad too. The little clip inside
Absolutely.
the spark plug boot can get weak and not grab the plug easily.
Mm-hmm.
But we make it at Arm Stater. We've got
I was just gonna say.
the upgraded coils because a lot of those are fairly generic for like Japanese bikes from the 70s.
Exactly.
So we
it's
make
just like
those, and we
certain
sell them
ohm.
Yeah, they're I forget 2 ohm, 1.5 ohm, 2 ohm, 3 ohm, whatever. We have the main variations.
5 and 8.
I use those on everything. I replaced them like that KZ1000P I have at work. I did the same thing. They had those crappy old coils and they were weak, and I just used our generic universal coils on them and they work great. So and they're not very expensive either. So you can get that kind of stuff for anything. Just because it's not an exact match for the original, that stuff's out there.
Tonight's episode brought
Well,
to you by
Sponsored by.
I've even seen
Can't
like
wait for that
like
sweet sponsor
car
money to
Yep.
start rolling.
like Bosch like car automotive, or at least car coils running on like a single cylinder, like just all it does is just has to send a spark. So now you want to be within range, of course, of your ignition system, but
the primary
Which will
resistance
probably
matters
be in your manual.
for
yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Well,
Moving
it
off from
should.
that, I don't know, do we need to spend more on that? But
No, I think that covers the main stuff.
Yeah, I think that just kind of goes back to what we were talking about. This way, and hopefully you have some sort of way to write this information down. If your bike has 35,000 miles, you write down changed plugs, changed plug wires at this mileage, did my oil filter, air filter.
Yeah.
And then you just got that checked off your list and it's been done on the bike correctly. And then you can kind of go on to the next round of stuff, which is looks like on our list we're getting a little more.
Oh wait, I
in-depth.
want to mention one thing. You put tension timing chain on here, and
yeah, we didn't quite cover that.
doesn't. I mean, depending on the timing chain or chain tension, or something I'm thinking of. There's different styles, right? Like that's not always something you can actually adjust. If it's a automatic tensioner, there's not much you can do with it,
Exactly.
right?
I was thinking just like on the older CBs, that was one thing that you would have to do. And it was like a semi-automatic. Like you would just get it, if I remember correctly, like somewhere like 15 degrees past top dead center. And then, because that's the slackest part. Or the tightest part, I think, I don't know. I don't remember exactly.
And
then you would just
lock nut
so you would just release the lock nut, and then it'll just kind of snap into place, and then you just tighten it up, and then it's adjusted. I mean, it's again, I don't keep bikes long enough to like
ever have a
to
problem
like
with it.
yeah. But I mean, if I just rebuilt a motor, or if I just picked one up and I wasn't planning on rebuilding the motor, which honestly didn't happen often, then I would do that once, and a lot of the times it was fine. But
well,
that's
like on the Harley twin cams, that was like a major deal. That was a major.
Oh, that's right.
That you had to inspect it, and oftentimes it could cam chain tensioner itself would disintegrate.
I thought they were gear driven.
No, that was the upgrade, or one of them.
Oh, I see.
It's also an
the
expensive
chain would
upgrade.
break down on the
Those early twin
get
cams,
gear.
I remember they had major problems with.
It was lots of fixes, and they're not terribly expensive, but it's one of those ones like on that bike, that's a major point of you have to take it. If you don't know that it's been done, you've got to take it in and have somebody look at it if you don't know how to do it or whatever. But
but it's
I remember
another bike
seeing
with
like someone
huge support, so it's easy to find online how to do
absolutely.
it. You know.
So another one to check is fork oil.
Yeah, which nobody ever does.
No one ever does. That's why it always comes out gray and smells like the worst fart in the world. But it's not like one of those things that is crucial. Like your bike will definitely run no problem. If it's never been done or you never knew any different, you wouldn't know it's bad. Unless it's leaking, and then you want to throw new seals and stuff at it.
No,
but
it's only when you notice the improvement with new oil that you're like,
that's
oh
the
shit,
thing. It's like if you,
I should have done that.
You know, we're on your recently purchased motorcycle. If it's your first one, you may not know, but if it's your 10th or 12th, man, you'll know it.
Yeah.
The difference when you get it done is just you know, you've totally hindered the motorcycle when you take away the functionality of good forks.
Well, and just new oil will improve performance, and also changing oil weight. Like if you felt like the damping was too soft or something, I usually run heavyweight fork oil in most bikes, and it's pretty big improvement.
Yep.
So
and a drain and change is not hard. You know, fork seals a little more work, but it's no big deal to drain it and change it.
Absolutely.
And most conventional shocks will have a drain nut on the bottom of each fork. Fork lower, and then and then you just pop the cap off. Be careful. I usually put a towel around the top cap or the fork cap, and then because that spring the spring is under tension, like it's preloaded, so and don't look at it. But yeah, with your my goodness, I had like a black eye for like 2 weeks.
And then you get a fork oil facial in that fucking spring.
Well, shit.
Fresh from YouPorn.
Inverted forks or upside down forks. I actually haven't heard them called upside down forks in a long time, but inverted forks, they're a little bit trickier than just like conventional forks, and most of the time, actually every time, you'll need kind of specialized tools to actually take those apart, and those ones generally are really specific on how much oil you put in there. Because that does change. That is an adjustment in itself too, to change how the forks work. But if you're comfortable with it, a manual should cover it, no problem. But that's definitely another one of those things that people overlook constantly. And another one that maybe isn't as overlooked, but could be a cause of some problems, not knowing it, is your cable adjustments. If I mean, a lot of newer bikes, they're going to be hydraulic clutches, but even do you know what? Even there's adjustments on the levers themselves most of the time.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like you kind of have to reach out real far for the clutch or brake, A lot of the times there are adjustments on those that you can play around with and see what's more comfortable or most comfortable that still you have the full actuation of mostly the clutch. But
does anybody ever use any setting other than the one that gives you the most, like the furthest out on the push rod? You know what I'm talking about? Like you have,
I've gone in.
I feel like I
VFR,
only ever use the one that gives you the most advantage on the lever.
It's nice if you just don't have to like reach out so far. But I think I've only ever used like maybe the second setting.
I just like my levers to work instantly. Like I hate a bunch of mush before they do something. Yeah. So I always set them to like try and grab the second possible.
Yeah.
With his
the thing is that doesn't change. That doesn't change when it's engaging.
It only changes.
It's just your reach. So where I usually base it off of where I like the clutch to be disengaged and when it does engage in my hand, because I don't like a full fist with the lever.
Yeah.
To say engage the clutch, but I like somewhere like kind of in the middle, and then like the rest of it's kind of dead space. Yeah, it's all preference. And that's also another thing you can play around with too, just to find out what your preference is if you don't know.
Right.
And throttle cable, that's something you'll
cable
find.
Adjustments is good. Setting, make sure you have just enough free play, and then setting where you want stuff to engage. That makes a big difference. Especially as cables wear, like
they'll
stretch out. Nobody ever goes back and adjust them. So after they wear in a little bit, if you reset everything, you can fix a lot of little problems.
See, I just sell everything before I get to all this.
That's Well, I usually do too. I spend all this time and get it perfect, ride it for 100 miles and sell it.
Yeah.
I do.
But yeah, fluids. To be honest with you, I wouldn't really recommend, like, say if your bike is water cooled, like draining and flushing the system, unless like say you pop the cap and
it's crusty,
if it's looking weird. I think we talked about this in the inspection, and knowing also that some coolant is the color of rust pretty much,
right?
But majority on motorcycles, it's going to be most motorcycles will have aluminum block, aluminum cases, aluminum heads, and aluminum radiators. So there's not going to be a whole lot of things that can actually start corroding. Now it does oxidate aluminum, but
but you don't end up with that brown rust
exactly
coolant or anything. But unless a bike has overheating issues that I'm aware of, like other than checking it's full in the right color,
topping it off. And honestly, if you don't know I can only say this because I'm in freaking San Diego, but I usually, if I'm flushing a system, this is mostly on cars or trucks, I'll just put distilled water in it. I don't need the benefits of antifreeze.
That's pretty fancy. I distilled over here. The hose, man.
Is it Voss?
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, use bottled water.
I buy it from Napa. They carry distilled water.
Cool. Are you wearing a top hat while you fill that, or?
No, but I am smoking my corn cob pipe.
Yeah. Nice. God, look at this guy. Jesus.
What are you talking about? I don't want this shit corroding in there. I just flushed the system.
Dude, that's right. Your bikes must be in better shape than mine. It gets the finest garden hose water that I can fill it up with.
Come on, they're like $1 a gallon, and you need like 3 of them.
That's
not for bikes, but
my taste.
Yeah.
Oh, cars.
Should we talk about your dinosaur oil versus transmission fluid?
Yeah.
Me?
That's for another. No.
Oh, it's like, man. Did I drink a lot last time?
This is a full hour discussion for
when we were riding our Harleys down to San Felipe for El Diablo run last year, there was a lot of debate on oil quality, and I was like completely insistent on running. I always run Castrol GTX, like dyno oil, and I feel like it's a Harley, it's a tractor, it gets cheap oil, and I feel like everybody else ran good oil and had very few problems, and my bike had lots of significant heat issues.
Nevin's so mad. His oil is pouring out of everywhere. He's like, God damn this thing.
Oh my God, bike covered in oil, just puking oil out of the transmission vent everywhere. And I had run it in the trans and the primary, and there's just oil everywhere. It's 99 degrees. The bike's smoking, oil dumping. I'm covered in oil. It's so hot. I've never been so pissed off in my life. But yeah, the bike didn't die. It kept running.
Yeah, it'd be good to, even if honestly, okay. So if you check the dipstick or check the oil site or whatever, and it looks like that freaking good gold, I wouldn't worry about changing the oil. That's not something someone can lie about. As it breaks down and gets used, it does turn pretty quickly. So that's a pretty good indicator that, okay, it's got a fresh oil change. But definitely check the level, and if it needs a little top off, which it could, and it's nothing really to be scared of. A lot of motors burn or leak oil, and it's not a tell sign that you need to get rid of it. But but yeah, if it's got a little darkness to it, it wouldn't hurt it to change the filter and the oil. And oil filters, I generally do it every other, but they're cheap also. Might as well change it every time.
Wait a minute. Okay, hang on. I have to question you here. You run bottled distilled water in your radiator, but you only change the oil filter every other oil change?
Okay, I see where you're going here.
You're a fucking... You're an enigma, Brady.
Well, here's the real reason. Okay, here's the real reason.
To save money, blow my mind.
Well, here's the real reason.
Give me the logic behind this.
A lot of the times, I would forget to buy the oil filter.
Okay.
And then, so I didn't want to make it back to now that this. I'm talking about my personal vehicles and motorcycles.
I hope your boss doesn't hear this.
Oh no,
this is the guy fixing my 61.
He'd be totally fine with it.
Hey boss, that oil filter will go in next change.
No, I usually schedule that in, so I'll just order it because I really hate going. Like once I'm working, I hate going somewhere to grab stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Even though there's a Napa like right down the street from me, but so I'll just order it ahead of time, and then when it shows up, that's when I'll do it. But on my personal stuff, it's always last minute. It's like, I put this off. I need to do it now. And then forgot the oil filter. So it's like, screw it. I'll just order one now, do the oil, and next time I'll swap it out.
Didn't we talk about that? Don't buy anything that says mechanic owned.
Yeah. I feel like
100%. There's been so many examples on this one alone already.
Mechanic owned 1A.
So funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I treat my stuff like total crap. Like it owes me money, and most of the time they do. But yeah, I mean, I do things right when it's someone else's because I don't want to be liable for anyone's life but my own or their stuff. So.
Dude, I'm blown away that you justify skipping oil filters, but you insist on putting the finest distilled water in.
What are you talking about? It's like that's cheaper than
that just blows my mind. That's where you draw the line. It's just so funny.
Oh man!
But,
I understand that. I understand that. Yeah, but
I'm sure water, right?
But at Napa, like they have it too.
No,
and there's one right
it's
down
not
the
how
street.
available it is. It's that the cooling system will absolutely not care or kill your bike if you use tap water or something in
not
it.
at
Where
all.
if you had a clogged oil filter or an old oil filter that was in bad shape or something, you could potentially grenade your motor. So
well, yeah, but I for me on my personal bikes, since I never, like I said, never had speedometers that had an odometer on it, I couldn't track my miles. So that's why I would change my oil generally like every month to a month and a half. I would change the oil.
Yeah. Okay, I agree in those.
So in that, like I'm,
risky,
like I'm probably running the oil for 1,000 miles, maybe, not even. So, in that, maybe I should have led with that. But change your filter every time. That's good.
This is a since this is obviously
wait till I get into brakes and what I do there.
Yeah, I can't wait.
No, I'm kidding.
Since we're in a
I use apple juice for brake fluid, and I change it once every 20 years.
Yeah, I mix my dot fives with my dot threes.
So I use dot 5 and some dot 2, and if you subtract, it's a dot 3, and it should
exactly. Do not mix your brake fluids. They will react to each other, and you'll have lines full of gelatin. So definitely put what is specific to your bike.
Let's since this is a pretty intensive topic, obviously, I think we should make this motorcycle maintenance 2 episodes. Because we're at
no, we don't need to. Honestly, like a lot of this stuff, I think we've already covered. Just a couple.
The end of it. Let's talk about real quick. I think. Well, the other maintenance stuff is pretty common stuff. Like check your brake pads, check your tire pressure, make sure you don't have dry rotted old tires.
Yeah, exactly.
Check your chain tension, that kind of stuff. Can we go into more detail on those? I'm not sure.
I feel like we should. I don't think we should rush some of the stuff because, like tires, people don't realize they can look up and find the date on their tire, and that's a decent topic in itself. And battery and charging systems. I feel like we should just.
Oh yeah, we can talk about how to test that, and
I feel like we should just make this a two-part podcast, and we'll come back and.
Fine by me.
We only got halfway, so we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, fine by me.
Man, I thought this was going to be like the quick and easy one, honestly.
No, this is great. This is good stuff.
No, but I think honestly, the point is we don't need it to be. It's fine. There's
exactly.
Yeah. It took me a long time after owning many, many bikes to realize how important checking that tire date was. I didn't even know for the first probably 10 years of riding that you could even do that. So
right.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think I definitely... Probably, I've been doing this for 20 years almost. That I might be just easy to overlook some of this stuff. So thanks for keeping us in check there.
Okay, I like it. Let's continue maintenance. Well, because every one of these things that comes up, everybody's done something stupid with.
We're gonna have a story, I'm sure too.
We have our stories, and then what you should do to be safe stories.
Well, right.
What you should do instead.
What you should do.
But there's plenty of good.
And what Evan would do.
Yes, and what I would do. There's plenty of good discussion to have about.
It's great.
What oil do you run?
Exactly.
Well, honestly, I think we could do just an episode on maybe oil. No,
I was gonna say that it would be super rad to find somebody who actually knows their shit about oil, like an AMSOIL rep or somebody, to join us for something like that, because I would love to ask questions
absolutely
with somebody that because I don't know what I'm talking about. I know what stupid things I've decided are true, but I have no way to back them up other than I use Castrol for no reason other than some old guy told me that 25 years ago.
Exactly. No, that'd be a really fun, because talk to somebody. I mean, a lot of people might think, well, oil's oil. But general rule of thumb, just put what your car or motorcycle asks for. And then usually it'll say on the cap. But
wrong.
But no, it'd be really interesting because a lot of it could just be a bunch of marketing kind of buzzwords. But who knows?
Well, I will say, like we were talking about that Harley trip, that bike ran really hot and was not happy with the cheap oil I was running in it. When I got back, I ran Royal Purple in it from a buddy's shop at his recommendation and put like $100 oil change on all the fluids.
Well, that's
primary,
like pretty
trans,
cheap for a
and
Harley,
engine.
to be honest with you.
Well, you should try the Castrol oil changes.
And while you're at it, skip on that oil filter.
Well, yeah, and save on the oil filter, and it's real cheap.
Knock $5
No,
right
it's-
off of that.
I'm a believer. I'm not sold on it always being necessary, but I am a believer in there's a noticeable difference because the clutch is smoother, the transmission shifts smoother, the motor runs cooler. So all that was very true.
One of its
But
main
had I
purposes is a
only-
friction modifier. So everything. If it's slicker, it's gonna. If it does a better job lubing, everything's gonna run better and smoothly.
Yeah.
and smoother.
It was
Definitely
noticeable.
there's a lot into it.
But I realize there's nothing wrong with putting oil in it that matches how you use it for that oil change. So like,
Well, and
most
weather
riding
can be a
around town-
variable as well.
right. And the temperatures we see here, the cheap oil's generally fine. I never had anything that was concerning. But then you go use it way harder outside of its normal comfort zone.
Down to
Yeah.
Mexico.
Right. And then I realized, oh shit, that's not good enough anymore. So, so
Let's do an episode on oil sometime. That'd be a great
Well,
idea.
it'd be
Yeah.
smart of us to find an oil guy. So if anyone listening and we haven't done it yet, hit us up if you know someone or are in the industry yourself. We'd love to
that would be
have
rad.
said person on. And also, like, I use different oils for different things I'm doing too. Like, I'll use that the cheapest stuff I can find when I'm breaking the motor in. Because there's less modifiers in there where it's going to wear in the rings, especially, that much quicker.
I do that for sure. On a new top end, I run like whatever is cheap store brand oil and change it after 50 miles or something.
Yeah, exactly. But there's also break-in oils too. Like that's stuff like I don't really know too much about. I put them in like on cars, but I haven't done it for motorcycles. But
I've never tried.
Well, anyways, we'll do the oil
yeah.
podcast right now. It sounds like so.
Yeah. Let's jump right into it. Okay, no, we'll do that next time, or not next time. We'll schedule that at some.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this up. So we'll continue motorcycle maintenance next time, and keep going down that road because there's more to talk about.
Yeah.
And,
well, thanks for hanging in there with us.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure if you didn't enjoy it, you will let us know.
Yeah, well, I think we've just about got enough content here, so we're going to get stuff posted pretty soon. So hopefully, if you find the show, you'll be listening to the first 4 or 5 episodes pretty quick because they'll all be available at the same time. And then we'd love to get your feedback, and also, coming soon, we'll get a website figured out and all that stuff, and let you know how to get in touch with us. So that's not done yet, but it's coming. So hopefully you like this, and
we'll be doing
we'll talk to you
weekly releases also. So if you're all caught up, we'll catch you next week.
Yep. Right on. Cool. All right. We'll see you next time on All Wheels Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Take care.
All right.